Hello, and welcome to the How to Exit podcast, where we introduce you to a world of small to medium business acquisitions and mergers. We interview business owners, industry leaders, authors, mentors, and other influencers with the sole intent to share with you what it looks like to buy or sell a business. Let's get rolling. And now a moment for our sponsors. I want to highly recommend you get Acquisition Aficionado magazine. Every month, Acquisition Aficionado magazine brings you tactics for business buying and selling you won't find anywhere else. Learn firsthand from industry leaders who share their success stories, featuring in-depth interviews and stories from leading figures in the business acquisition industry. This multi-platform mobile magazine speaks to acquisition entrepreneurs wherever they are in the journey. And I want you to visit acquisitionaficionado.com today. Hello and welcome to the How to Exit podcast. Today I'm here with Connor Young with Kairo Data, and we're going to talk about sourcing deals. That's the number one question a lot of people have whenever I have networking meetings and I meet one of my listeners is how do I find good deals? So this is be a fun conversation because you're working on that. You've got a software platform where you're helping people find deals and source deals, and you've got some experience in the background. So thank you for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely, Ronald. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. Big fan of the show, what you guys have been able to do. And I know we were just talking beforehand, different environments for where we're taking this call. I'm in Houston, Texas, in the middle of a hurricane, and you're in the Redwood Forest, and you get to have a much nicer view than me. So good for you.
Yeah, it's you know, I live a little different life, yeah, right? Like I call kind of almost a digital nomad, but we kind of stick to wherever we move, we stick for a couple years.
Yeah.
Let's start off with kind of your background story. Tell people who you are, kind of
Yeah.
how you got into this space. And my running joke's always like, hey, you were born, then you ended up on a show about mergers and acquisitions. How in the hell did you end up here? So kind of lead up to how you ended up on a show about buying and selling businesses.
Yeah, you bet. So my background might be, I don't know, a little bit different than most that come into the S&B space. But my co-founder and I actually met in 2016 working with an investment firm. So we both did the traditional investments, being able to handle, coordinate with tons of different clients, whatever portfolio management, trading, wealth management that they needed. And did that for 4 years. And actually in 2020, a ton of things happened. The whole world changed. We both left and started our own individual investment firms, but still had a lot of clients that we would take care of, do the portfolio, changing management, anything they needed. But of course, with the world flipping upside down, we got tons of questions and requests on alternative investments. So, like commercial real estate, which I know you're very familiar with, and then a lot of the private equity space. So, small businesses. We would get these clients, they would say, hey, look at this deal, run the numbers, and analyze, blah, blah, blah. And we were really good at that. We loved doing that. And would come back routinely saying, like, hey, this is what this looks like, and here's what this investment is showing, and this SIM or PPM is looking like this. And that's great, right? Kind of normal, run of the mill. But then they asked us this really big question in 2020, which is, hey, Connor and team, this is fantastic. I love this deal. This is a bidding war. This is like 45 different people trying to go after this one deal. Can you find this same thing but off market? And in 2020, our short answer was no idea how to do that. But if you pay us, we'll figure it out. And that's kind of what it turned into. So we put everything together, had the systems, a ton of different things on what we did to analyze deals and to just scale it up to go after these off market properties or business owners, these sellers. We were able to just pour a lot of gasoline and then hire tons and tons of people to do a lot of that propriety outreach and then figure out what worked, what didn't. And we cleaned and went through all sorts of data. But that led us to today where we've served over 210 plus clients, just enabled to find and source more deals.
It's interesting. The finding off market deals can be a full range of emotional and stressful events because depending on the industry, right? I thought it was super easy 2 years ago when I was part of a marketing roll up because all the marketing agencies were on LinkedIn. I sourced over 250 deals, had set 213 one-on-one calls with business owners in less than 200 days, right? I had a team of 3 people taking these calls. We had 26 LOIs signed That said, here I am now working with the company. We're buying cabinet companies, cabinetries, and what they call joineries in other countries. Companies make that. They're not on LinkedIn. They're barely online. These guys are hiding in caves. So it's a lot of direct mail and personal outreach and finding trade magazines and trade shows and that type of stuff. So it's very different depending on what industry is and going where the customers are. What have you found for sourcing for your software and for your clients?
Yeah, very similar type of experience. So if you're going after cabinetry and you're right, it's you're not on LinkedIn, you probably don't have the nicest, prettiest website. Like even a startup company or a SaaS product that started 2 months ago might not even have,
Mhm.
right? So their web presence is light years beyond you. But your cabinetry business, or let's call it pest control, or let's call it roofing or plumbing or HVAC, could be 22 years old, zero web presence, zero SEO, but doing, $6.7 million in revenue, 2.8 in EBITDA or something, and just a fantastic looking business. So our question was, how do we find those? Because they're not online. And that actually ended up being an advantage to us because if they were, everybody would have access. But lo and behold, when 2020 and we were asked, hey, go find these deals, we used everything. I don't want to drop any super serious names, but all the databases of businesses and go use it, pay tons of money. I'll throw numbers out there because people might recognize the products or databases off that. They're like $15,000 to $18,000 a year, right, for these complete databases. And we were doing all of them. And we thought that would help. And it definitely gave us some information, contact info, but the accuracy on some of them were just terrible. 35% on, oh, that's the right email and that's the right phone number. And that just killed us because the data is gold. So that's when we started building our own proprietary database, finding other solutions, not just doing web scraping, but tons of other pieces that allowed us to put together. It's an ABC roofing company that matches this Facebook profile, it matches this Yelp page, it matches whatever. You can take the phone number, email thing from there, run a test, clean the email, skip trace the phone number, actually make sure it's a perfect kind of record, and then put that into our database. So that's a forever to build, constantly being reiterated. But now we have 18 million plus businesses that we can just do internally, source internally.
Oh, wow. So I'm going through that process right now with this project we're doing in that we have a list. We pick 2 cities where there's founders local because that's another thing. When you get to these old school businesses, a lot of times they want to meet
Yeah.
in person still. They're not
Mhm.
into the whole Zoom thing that maybe closer to COVID they were, but they're getting back to wanting to meet in person. So what we did is we picked
Yep.
the cities where some of the the C-level people on the team are. We avoid
Yep.
California because it's difficult to do things here. So we're not looking for anything immediately around where I'm at. But for the other guys like Florida and stuff, we're definitely chose that. We use one of those databases, right? We pulled data from data. I'll say it, Data Axle. It was free. I used the library card version to get Data Axle, and since then it's not free. Anybody thinks Data Axle is free hasn't really tested the data because since then we've
Correct.
got myself and 2 VAs taking turns cleaning that data, and that's man
Yep.
hours, right? So you'll either pay for
Yep.
clean data or you'll pay for man hours. Uh,
Mhm.
and we're going through everything from the Secretary of State. Half the time, the owner's not even writing that Excel, right?
Correct.
Somebody called themselves the owner and they happen to maybe just be an employee or a manager, or maybe don't even work there anymore. But when
Yep.
you go to the state records and go, okay, well, the guy that the state records says that filed the last annual report as the president is somebody else. Put that name on there, and then go to do they have a website? Okay, what do they say the business number is? Why is the number wrong on Data Axle? So yeah, we're spending a lot of time cleaning data, and yeah, we probably could pay for those other services, some of the big ones, Crunch Bases and all those different things that are out there, but their data is not perfect either. So why spend tens of thousands of dollars on 3 different databases when we're gonna clean their
Yeah.
data too?
Absolutely. And that's the golden nugget that call it goes into this funnel or into this waterfall,
Mhm,
right? The golden piece is the data. The data. If you can get that and it is perfect, then that leads to the entire amount of volume that you should go after.
mhm.
Because the biggest thing, I mean, we've worked with dozens of PE firms and family offices and whatever, but deal flow. everyone struggles with it. It doesn't matter if you've got 600 million ready to go after deals, if this is your first time and you got $10,000 in the bank and you want to go after your first SMB. Deal flow affects everyone. And then one of the greatest ways that we combat it is volume. So if we can just have more than everyone else, we're kind of the winners.
It's interesting that what you're doing there. A lot of people don't in our space, the small to medium business or space, don't
Yeah.
realize how competitive the next tier up is. So the private equity guys are going after. Some of them will dip all the way down to that 4 million EBITDA range in certain industries. I've even heard a couple say they're dipping down into the like $2 million range in certain very competitive spaces, home services and stuff. Like
Yeah.
pest control, they'll dip down there for the little ones, especially if it's added on to something they're already building. But most of them are looking for that 5, 10, that almost mid-market. Once these guys get to that realm, they're no longer talking to their local business broker, they're going to a business banker, and that business
Yeah.
banker model is what you're talking about. Like, there's 50 people competitively bidding on this business, and I wouldn't wanna be the PE firm. If I was a PE firm and I'm paying money to source deals, I'd be reaching out to you guys too. I'd be like, "Hey, find me something
Right.
I'm not in a competitive bid against 45 other individuals, right?"
And if you can avoid the bidding war, in my opinion, you're the victor. I do want to ask you because you mentioned you were doing tons of outreach in terms of letters and maybe even face to face or calls. And we started all over the map too. We did lots of emails, but then letters, and then we did calls and texts. And we have, in my opinion, seen that calls are just the most effective strategy. And it's led us to build up it feels like 20,000. It's not even close to that. It's like 20 people call center overseas, and then people here in the States that handle or organize just the more expert cold calling to speak to these business owners after we get interest. But have you seen like your letters or mailers generate the most interest, or what are you guys seeing?
I'm actually a semi-trained copywriter, right? I've spent my money.
Nice.
My degree, my master's degree is my MBA is in marketing, and then I realized that wasn't working really well, and I went out and paid a lot of money for Dan Kennedy to teach me how to copyright, and I've studied everybody else's, and I'll still tell you, on average, and that's how I built my real estate investment firm, is we mailed thousands of letters, right? Not a huge, I mean, not as big as some of the big companies, but we've spent $2,000 to $3,000 a month mailing letters to a small market of Tulsa, and that's how we built our real estate investments firm before I moved on from that. That said, it's still like when you're first trying starting out, this project's about 4 or 5 months old, for at least for me working on it. We've only sent a few hundred letters at this point at most, and it's a 1 to 2% response rate if anything. It's horrible at the beginning, and we're just now starting to do the calls. Like, now it's time because our letter basically says, "Hey, we're trying to reach out to you. We're interested in either buying you or, knowing anybody that that would be willing to sell," kind of letter. And then it says, "By the way, if you don't respond to the letter," I'm butchering what it says in there, but "we're gonna call you in a week or so." So now we're at that stage where calls, you know and I'll be a little honest, I did a lot of cold calling in real estate. I'm a little reluctant to do it. It's not my favorite thing to do.
No, we don't. Yeah, I personally, no, that's where we hire it out and then you organize it. I mean, thank God software leaps and bounds every single year, but especially since COVID, there's so many different tools that we use now and just kind of put together. And people overseas and then here in the States all have access to the same type of dialing software and everything. So it's organized, feeds into a CRM.
Mhm.
But that calling itself is crucial because that's where you're finding, and I'm surprised you said some PE firms are going down to like 2 million EBITDA, but I think they're realizing the same thing others have where it's just too crowded.
Yeah.
But we found so many, like we found this one deal in Colorado recently that our client just, I mean, they wanted to marry us after. It was doing, I want to say 2.3 million. It was a landscaping company, 2.3 in EBITDA, 5.1 in revenue, and they were ready to sell it for 2.5. And that's ridiculous. And that's kind of no one, yeah, every PE firm or the giant groups or even somebody, Stanford, Harvard, MBA grads that get together, put together a holding company. That's kind of what they may want to go after, quote unquote, but they'll consider themselves like, hey, give us everything that's doing 10 million plus
Mm.
in revenue. because they don't know that you can just talk to a lot of these business owners and then find something this good. Like you don't need to do a ton of tech enablement to just like, oh, how do I juice out profits? You make your money back in 1 year. That client loves us.
Yeah, I
It's
bet.
just kind of like, yeah, the greatest kind of hookup, or if you do the right reach out, you have to love landscaping companies first, right? I always tell people don't marry the numbers. Like you got to know and love the industry. But my goodness, there you go.
That's interesting. Have you looked at some of the tools that are coming out that actually does some of that? There's actually decent sounding. I haven't tested them. Decent sounding AI tools that are doing some of that cold outreach. Have you messed with any of them out,
Yeah,
like Air AI and some of these other?
we've looked at air. We've done demos of kind of everyone.
There's one that there's I remember the I remember the AI's name. They named their AI, it's Ava, but I can't remember the name of the company, but they do kinda email cold outreach and do scheduling and stuff, and it looks really promising for, like, $500 a month.
That's good. AVA.
Ava, I think it's the name of the AI agent,
Okay. Interesting. I don't know if I know that one too familiarly. We check and use, or not use, but test
and it's a
tons of them. Like, doing demos constantly, and I think it's getting close. There's just, in my opinion, such a nuance
yeah,
for speaking to these business owners because I mean, our clients, some love landscaping, some love e-com, some love roofing or pest control.
yeah,
Every single owner, geography needs to be talked to in a different way.
yeah.
That's really hard to train AI. I think it can get there very soon, but that's why I mean, we've been, in my opinion, super lucky with the team that we've had for years and years and years
Yeah.
that they just know how to do it. And I think a lot of people underestimate like what that training entails to actually deliver results. And, that's why they pay us.
It's interesting. I own a small pest control company in Oklahoma still. It's my nepotism company.
Nice.
My relatives work there and run it. That said, for a long time, I was calling every single there was a certain target of pest control companies because this is way too small. We're really tiny in that area, just a couple trucks and stuff. And that's when I went and learned more about this industry because I made a big mistake getting something so small. So I
Yeah.
called. There's at least I did what the Dream 100 where you like are there 100 companies in the area I'd love to own? I found about 35, 40, and I started calling them every quarter. Hey, you ready to retire yet? And it was kind of the ongoing
Mhm.
joke for a long time because I would just call them and go, Hey, it's Ron again. And they just go, I'm not ready to retire yet, buddy. So they would know me.
That's the type of communication though that they just really
Yeah.
respect, right? So call it, persistence is crucial.
Yeah.
That's organization
Yeah.
and like scheduling the call or just knowing when to talk to them.
Hmm.
And yeah, we love that. We use HubSpot, we use all sorts of tools, plug in, integrate, send out automated text messages or whatever,
Hmm.
right? To just touch base. That simple. Hey, don't know if you're trying to retire, but I saw this new beach house in Florida. This looks like your perfect home. That's the funny joke stuff that really lands.
That's the fun stuff I would do.
It's fun, man. That's part of it. Yeah, I mean, you've done it too with the real estate
Yep.
stuff. Like you spoke about AI calling tools. There's this new one, Leo, Leo. I don't know the website name. Let me see if I can find it, but it's super interesting because they can take essentially just like a build it out yourself type of roadmap. So if you want this type of question to be asked and then this answer, you can build out the entire AI agent. It's actually called
Hmm.
askleo.io. Really cool website. Not endorsing it because we haven't used it yet or
Hmm.
demoed it yet. We're about to, but it looks pretty cool.
There's a lot of tools coming out like that. So let's talk about Kairo Data. What is it that you built and kind of how does it work and what is it out there for?
Absolutely. So we decided to just build the online platform that our clients asked us for. We had no intentions of being a software company, but they just begged us for an easy way for a few different things. And simply put, it's to address every need or question that a searcher or an investor has. So we could solve all of that. If you're coming to our website and you want to use our proprietary data, that's taken us 4+ years to build. And then we source everything. We're constantly cleaning, improving it. By no means is it 100% accurate because people change phone numbers, emails constantly. But we do have over 18 million plus records that you can go through and look at. Surprisingly, that's not the hottest, ticket thing that people want to visit the website for. People are like, "Hey, that's great. I don't know if I actually want to go look and source and find these plumbing companies in Texas, Ohio, and Florida where I want to buy one. I kind of just want to find one maybe already for sale or have you guys just do the work for me." So that's where we've also included a piece or tool for just checking out deals.
Mhm.
And we've built it out so much that when we start working with clients, any client and then any person that hops onto the platform and uses it can see all deals that's anywhere online. So we don't use scraping tools. We don't do anything else. We find and filter and organize them ourselves. It's a very more manual process, but it's worth it because everything we put on the website and the platform is under 5x multiple. And it can be whatever landscaping, plumbing, pest control, your sister's e-com business, could be anything, right? Plus all the deals that we found for clients. So we're serving over like 210 plus right now, off market. And if they pass on a deal, either for a variety of reasons, their financing fell through. It's too big. It's too small. It doesn't have enough employees, or it's kind of payroll system or whatever might be out of whack. It could be a ton of reasons. We just say, great, we'll still put that on our platform. And if you're that eager to go find that plumbing company that somebody else passed on, go for it. Here's contact information. They've told us directly that they want to sell. Here's information. It's all yours.
How do you guys get paid?
So we get paid pretty simply. VIP clients, where we're doing the outsource for, it's just a quarterly 90-day subscription model. If you're just using the platform, you can just pay to use the platform. Right now, we're actually about to kind of jump up in prices. But if you buy before the end of July, I don't know when this podcast might be coming out, but end of July in 2024, it is only $49 a month. You can look through all deals, you can look through data, you can create lists, you can do everything.
Interesting. Now, for these off-market deals that end up in there because somebody passed on them, do you make money when those sell? Or do you do something like some type of commission or finder's fee or
Ronald, I'm super excited you asked that. And I just want to tell your audience because I love your show. You even hopped on before we even started recording. Like, hey, I'm not going to take like loaded questions or, you know, whatever they're called, questions that you want me to ask you.
yeah,
Right there is like the number one question that I really wanted you to ask. And I was like, oh, okay, I can't tell them or guide the conversation in a certain way. But here we are because that that question right there is probably why we've seen so much success. And we love business brokers. We think it's an awesome model. But I believe we get 100 to 200 times the amount of responses from businesses, off market sellers, and owners because we tell them we do not charge a fee or a commission. And people are like, how does that make sense? How does that make you money? We don't care. What we do, in a sense of being able to just work with these sellers and owners to get them to trust us, is the whole reason we have so many potential deals and opportunities that we can put on platform, but most importantly, serve directly to our VIP clients who tell us, like I said, like, hey, Connor, I'm wanting pest control and landscaping in Florida, North Carolina, New York. Give me everything you got. And then we go after and we do it for them.
so it's interesting. I've often thought of so I'm networked with all kinds of people because of the show, because of the fact that I host a twice a month networking hangout where 30 or 40 of us will jump in a room, 20, 30 of us sometimes, and we'll discuss where they're stuck. Normally they're stuck on deal flow, by the way, or
Yep.
they're really early in the process and they don't know what industry they want to be in. And then my rule on that one is just talk to more business owners. The more business owners you talk to, the more business listings you talk to, you'll figure out what you want to be in and what you don't want to be in. But deal sourcing is the number one issue most people have. But I've often thought a lot of these guys, they get good at it and they go through dozens of leads before they find one that's great for them. What happens is all those other businesses that were interested, they go nowhere. They have to call a broker or something. It would be a great tool to actually have some database like, look, if you pass on something, stick it in here and the rest of us will take a look at it. Do you guys take listings from other people or is a way for somebody to go, hey, here's something I passed on. Are you guys interested in having it in your database? Or a way to refer because it helps the business owner too. It's like, look, I'm going to pass, but you probably should put your information in this Kairo Data because they've got a good user base.
Yeah. That's exactly what we do. And I mean, that's why, it's not a crazy amount of money, but you are paying to be a quote unquote serious buyer or
Mhm.
searcher, the $49 a month, let's call it, to look at these deals. So it's not just anyone and everyone off the street window shopping to
Right.
come in. And the owner sellers kind of appreciate that. And if they want some sort of medium or in between, or even to hire, use a broker to handle all this influx of people coming in, great. That's their prerogative. But what we set it up for them to do is just to have as many questions or people ask, hey, like, I'm really interested in your business. But you're right, deal flow, it affects everyone, whether you have a billion or 10,000 in the bank. So everyone needs more.
Now, are you guys buying businesses yourself, or you built this all from scratch?
We are, yeah. So we love going after maybe some more of the service based types of businesses and also financial services, so accounting, payroll type companies too. But I'm partial to landscaping, partial to some other types of like roofing companies, solar companies.
Mhm.
But internally, we don't let that mix up with clients. So we have pretty hard, fast rule. Like if we do find a business, it's client first because everyone gets their leads. It's organized. We have a huge man. If you run a database, let me just get into the weeds really fast. You have data reconciliation, aggregation that you really have to work on. So each client's not overlapped, even if they have the same overlap of a buy box criteria, their leads and businesses and everyone that we can connect them to is separate. So they do have first choice, first look, which is good. And then if it's a business that we really like, at the same time, we just have kind of just the integrity, honest foot forward, similar to your dating app that you mentioned beforehand. Love that. Where it gets put on the platform and we get to reach out and talk to them, but so does everyone else.
Mhm.
So for us, our biggest piece of the business is just to, hey, let's aggregate more sellers and buyers. Let's build this huge platform and or marketplace. And that's where a lot of our money, attention, focus goes. But there are some businesses that we find and we're like, oh, that's just really good. And if we do, we always go after and kind of make it happen.
Now, are you buying them big enough that they have an operator in place, or do you have to step in sometimes?
See, okay, depends on the business,
Right.
industry, location, everything. I will say there's such a nice, call it a strategy because it can totally fail. If it's small, that's honestly maybe more preferred because we do have groups of operators and people connected that love SMB or in the space.
Mhm.
And they're like, hey, I would love to have 80% of this deal equity. And I would love to go in and move to XYZ location, run this business. And if I get 80%, that's great. And I get a fat salary, that's fantastic. And they have to interview, apply, do everything with us too. But then they get their dream of being their own boss. They work a ton,
Mm.
but they're running this business. But the upside is unlimited. They can take that construction business and make the next Holt or whatever $10 billion construction company. Nothing's stopping them. But we love those types of partnerships because we come in, we can have the capital, and then most importantly, the lending, and then make some things happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The what do you think? So you've got a call center that does outbound calls. You said 20 plus people. Is that where most of these off market deals come from? Is that direct outreach? Like you just go through, somebody says, I'm looking, like we come to you and say, I'm looking for cabinet manufacturers, anything in the kitchen and bath remodel space in the Orlando, Florida, and some other state, so another area, and we give you our buy box criteria. It has to be doing close to a million or more in EBITDA. So we don't mind the smaller, in your world, that might be some of the smaller ones, but it has to be a million plus in EBITDA. The owner has to be pretty motivated to move, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot of having the owner finance the deal and a lot of creative financing. So we don't typically go the SBA route at all. We're not interested in that route.
Why do you say you're not interested in, let's call it 7A or whatever the SBA offers?
Um, well, mainly for me, I own a little real estate, and the personal guarantee is a turn off for me. And so, a couple of other founders are like me; they have a lot of commercial real estate, and we don't want a personal guarantee across other investments, right? So,
Yeah.
that's just a turn off for us.
It's a very interesting point because we just partnered with a lending firm, so credit or a private credit firm,
Mhm.
and their whole thing is to be the honestly basic alternative to the SBA because there's no one else competing. And you're like, well, good luck. Like that's not going to work. And SBA does XYZ. It's the biggest player out there. That's great. Their thing is we don't require PG, personal guarantee. And that has turned some heads. That has brought in so much deal flow just directly to them because they're like, tell me more. What do you mean there's no PG? Like, what are you basing this on? What's the underwriting? The underwriting is fast, under 30 days. It's completely coherent, kind of seamless. And I'm like seeing them like they're the best thing ever. But like I do love them. I can talk off line about them to you because definitely need to know or understand from them if I can broadcast them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's some really good tools.
I'm interested in that mainly because like I said, we don't want the personal guarantee side of it, and the
Yeah,
other side of that is a lot of those companies, like, for the manufacturing to be fine, right? Because they're asset heavy, right? They even sometimes have facilities, rent. So, we're looking at things like sell lease back and other stuff, as opportunities to finance these deals if they own the real estate. I don't know if you're familiar with the sell lease back strategy, but you buy the business
yeah,
and the real estate and then sell the real estate and lease it back to yourself so that you could fund the whole transaction, right?
yeah.
I'm a real estate guy, so there's part of me that says, "Don't do it, just keep the real estate," but there's also part of me that says, "If you're gonna fund a multi-million-dollar business, it's worth looking into," right?
It's a
But,
very resourceful option for sure.
I know you can't say the name of it, you don't have the okay to do that on this show, but can you tell us, is it totally asset based? I mean, a lot of these guys, they'll finance anything that's heavy in assets, and some of them won't touch, like, SaaS companies and that type of stuff just because there's no collateral at all, right?
I don't want to speak directly for them, but let me just go ahead and guess.
Yep.
Totally fair. I think it is more asset heavy, but I know that they've done e-com and SaaS types of transactions before too. So I think there's the ability with their underwriting team and process
Mhm.
where they can qualify or disqualify pretty fast.
Okay.
And they can say, hey, yeah or no. But they're awesome.
I promise you can have people from the show reaching out and go, "Hey, what's the name of that place?" So you might wanna get the
But
okay to send that out because
yeah,
that is
no
an
intention.
there are 2 needs in this space, right, that I've always
Mm,
found, and I've been in this space for a couple of years now. Deal source, deal flow, and then finance sources, right, and it was the same way in real
yeah,
estate. You either have more deals than money or more money than deals, right? I do these things, I call them money trips, where I go out and raise money from private investors, and I would travel. A lot of
nice.
times I go to the private lender shows, like, I would go to shows where they teach people to be private lenders, and
Yeah.
I'd walk out of that show with 200, $300,000 worth of loans before I've had money, wired to our real estate investment firm within days of me walking out of one of those training seminars, right? They're there to teach everybody how to be a private lender,
Okay,
so
go,
I was like,
now go deploy it.
yeah, they're there to teach everybody to be private lenders, and I'm there going, "Hey, I got 3 houses right now that's ready to be funded, here I have the deal sheets with me," and, you know, but, I honestly think that's the same in this. You either have more deal flow than money or more money than deal flow, and you're kinda playing that ebb and flow game, right?
Yeah,
So, it's good that you're looking for that because you're working on the deal flow, but over here, you're making these relationships with people. They go, "Wait a second, if they need money, you can go SBA route," which is good for a lot of people. The only people I know, like myself, that have a lot of issue with it is you, right? You're trying to protect assets, right? I'm debt
mm,
free, as far as the house. I don't owe any money on my house, my cars, or anything like that. I don't want to lose any assets because I got to tie them up to something that may or may not work, right?
yeah, and you're playing the options game,
Yeah.
right? If I can just fill up or get a house with 2,000 doors in it, and they're all different opportunities,
Mm.
great. And I understand that mentality. I'm kind of wired the same way. That's cool. But yeah, if you can, you're right, find the deal flow, have the financing partners, you're kind of golden. That's why we're honestly really excited about this partnership with them. It's helping a ton of our clients, but we're figuring out like man, our reach or people that are the audience interested in that is massive. No PG? Are you freaking kidding me? Like, sure, I'll talk. Like, it can take me a couple of days or a week, whatever, to just get a thumbs up, thumbs down. Let's do it. I'd be happy to figure out if this would work.
Awesome. That's really cool. The I like the interface. I was playing with it yesterday or the day before when your people reached out to me, and it starts off with kind of the Google Earth feel where you got the whole world, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you can zoom into your area, and then you can I like that, it's unique, and as far as it feels more modern than some of the other search tools I've messed with. I'm gonna talk my team into, go ahead and subscribing, and let's look at because even if your data's cleaner than what I'm using, that save us so much more time, right? And, you know, mm, I'll even look at the pricing of your cold calling because if I can avoid doing it, that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, we'd be happy to see if that can be a fit, and we're happy to talk to anyone, everyone that wants to try use the platform. There's a super simple way: sign up, get a free account, and you can just look, right? Like, oh, I'm super interested in deals in Seattle, right? Or what's the data you have in Seattle, Washington? And if it's up to par with what you're looking for, great. You just see all that on the free account, and then if you're interested in, oh, that business, I want to know their business or their email, their phone number, their Instagram. So we have a ton of those, or LinkedIn, social links, website. A ton of that data is just right there per business. Great. And even, I think I've mentioned this before, Ronald, like if someone wants to sign up, they can do that. You can even use a promo code. We'll just how to exit,
Mhm.
and that'll get you 10% off. And you can have that for life too. So every single month, 10% off, and they can use the platform day in, day out.
Awesome. Cool. I have a lot of followers and a lot of people. I'm connected to people in Australia and Europe and Dubai. Is this all US based, or do you have some leads and stuff starting to happen in other areas?
Now you're going down the roadmap, man. So we have US, Canada, Australia. The data itself is not pullable, or basically, we don't have it synced up directly to the platform just yet. But if you're a user, we can pull whatever you want
Hmm.
and directly send it to you in those three countries. We are working super, super hard on parts of Europe right now. My hope is we get a ton of that implemented, posted, everything just pushed onto the platform by end of year. So think in the next 6 months, but right now those three countries, US, Canada, Australia, are available.
In my gut feel is when you really start diving into Europe, you're going to find Company's House and realize it's a little easier to get data on the European countries because I don't care how small you are in Europe, you have to report, right?
Yep.
Eh,
They're financials. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the hard part here in the US. And a ton of people tell us that. They're like, hey, like I want you to get me every single off market plumbing business that's doing 2.2 at least in EBITDA. And I politely tell them that's impossible. We're working on it. Honestly, at this pace, we'll have called every single business in the US by 2032. So if you wait that long, we'll have contacted everybody, I promise. And we're not going to, access or steal tax returns, which is where they put that because that's illegal. We're never going to do that. So yeah, that the hard part of financial information here versus Europe is definitely there. But yeah, if we start expanding to Europe and we pull tons of other data points, yeah, we'll explode into London and Paris, and I'm sure the team will happily take a trip on our company credit card to the Paris Eiffel Tower and Olympics just to sightsee or work really hard.
Yeah.
Let's say.
So, what's working for you right now is definitely the cold calling, not cold calling necessarily, but phone outreach. Are there any other avenues that kind of work to help feed that? Do you guys still send a lot of direct mail? Do you still send a lot of cold email outreach and that type of stuff?
We stopped the letters, we stopped the mail because of rates, and we're checking everything weekly, monthly too. Yeah, and the money part of it as well. I mean, if it costs whatever, let's call it, we got it pretty low, 78 cents or something,
Hmm.
to just kind of send out mail, whatever, postcard or letter. But just response rate crushed or wasn't making it feasible. It wasn't worth the investment. And that turned our attention to, it's funny you mentioned like copywriting, but sequence and cadences
Hmm.
of, we know if we can send this email, this text message, or sorry, a call and then a text message, we're gonna see this potential statistic of a response, right? It goes this, and this. If we still don't see it, then we follow up with different types of emails, and then another thing that we could send out, even, hey, we'll do this for you. Happy to hop on a call. Are you open to hearing offers? But the number of emails, then calls, then texts, then in the exact structure and then timeline, separate this by 3 days, and the fourth touch point is by 10 days. That has taken years. Once again, not perfect, but I think it's just crazy to be able to finally figure out and have like accurate guess or estimates on, hey, we'll go after this. We're most likely going to get you 15 responses, positive responses, because we know the numbers, we put it all in, and that's pretty good.
Interesting. Now, one there's one element of data I can't find, like I told you before the show, that I've probably spent more money than most trying to learn how to be a direct mail guy, and I still like, in our real estate business, we got to where we got a 15 to 20% response rate. And that sounds insane.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't believe that, but we were so laser targeted. We knew exactly who we were reaching out to. We ran a company that bought foreclosures. So I knew you were in a court case being foreclosed upon before I mailed you a letter. And the way we built that response is we would build rapport with them over time for every step along the court case. We tracked every single case and we knew exactly where they were in the process and we would notify them, hey, this is what happened in your court case recently. If you need help, we're running out of time, and they knew more from us. A lot of these guys would call us and go, I hired an attorney and I get more updates from you guys than I do our own attorney. And, but we just built rapport over time. So we would end up 15 to 20% of the people that were on our list would call us at some point. Right. But it took a couple of years to get there. That said, there's an element of data inside that I see missing in everything that I come across, and I'm a marketing nerd for this mergers and acquisition space. I think it would be absolutely golden if I could have businesses doing over $1 million a year, but I've been in 10 businesses, 10 years in business, all that the buyer's box, and I know the owner's over 60 years old. I can't find age demographics anywhere. I'm having the VAs right now. We've got, like in Florida and some other states, voter registration data is easy to find. For the low hanging fruit, people with unique names and stuff, I'm having to go back and backfill my list that we're going to with targeted age. Like, this is probably the right guy. The
Yeah.
addresses match, right? He's in the right county, he's got the right name, and it looks like on his last annual report, he listed this as a home address and they match his voter registration. He's 72, right?
Yeah.
Those we'll spend more time and energy reaching out to.
That's crucial and something that we're adding. And I will say this, the same way that we're doing it with financial information, like I said, 2032.
Mhm.
That's not a joke. Like that's when we estimate we'll have over 18 million plus businesses and their quote unquote financial information. Now, whether that's accurate or not, who knows? But everyone would pay so much money to have access to that.
Yep,
It's great. So that's what we're building towards. Everybody should want that.
right.
You're right. Age demographic does matter too. We get that. And the only way we're getting that is just by hiring more and more cold callers.
Yeah.
Getting them on the freaking phone is probably the most important thing to us.
Mm,
And then we can figure out more information on them, get their, age, maybe their birthday, can confirm a ton of other pieces too. Get, why are you selling? That's huge. The exact reason, like, oh, what's going on with the business? Can you tell me the revenue trend over the last 3 years, their financial pieces? That's so important. You're not going to get that through a mailer letter or an email or a text message. Like a lot of these things kind of come down just to soft sales on the phone. So if we can start to build out that directory and database like we're doing right now, it's great. We have their contact information. But if we had a database of 18 million businesses and their owners and their ages, I think from what you just said, you'd be like, you just say the number, Connor, and it's yours.
Yeah, give me the age demographic. Right. So in the real estate space, we did what we called list stacking or data stacking. So I would
Yeah.
buy like, here's a good example. I'd buy a list of high equity absentee owners. Right. So I know they don't own much on their house and they don't live in it. Their property tax bill goes to a different address than the house. And then I would go and buy myself a list of anybody who's done an eviction in the last 6 months. So now I know they're frustrated, right? And I would go and buy a list of all the expired MLS listings or download a list
Yeah.
of all expired limit. Now I know they tried to sell it. They've evicted somebody in the last 6 months and they don't owe much on it. Those people are so much more likely to say yes when I call them. Focus on that. And, that's what we're trying to do right now. And I'm trying to get my team to do right now with our VAs and everybody else is we take that different data sources. So we're finding age demographics. In some states, it's really easy. Florida, it's pretty easy to find age demographics. In other states, like I forgot what one of them was. Some of them are you have to almost know their date of birth to get the voter registration data. Other places, you just go and, like, Ronald Skelton, Tulsa, and it'll tell you the guy's 52 years old, he lives at this that. It has all that, it's just easy access, and
Sure.
if you look at that to their corporate filings and can match the addresses, now you know you got the right guy and the right age. So,
Yeah.
it's time consuming, right? Because it takes my team, you know, a good 8 to 10 hours to clear 50 people on the list.
It's a step by step, and it matters doing it in that sequence, and that's what we've seen too. When we do our reach outs, like, there's the right way, quote, unquote, "to maybe go after it," but you're spot on. Yeah. So I love that your team does that. It's pretty integrate or detailed into it.
So what are you seeing now? You've been doing this for how long now?
The deal sourcing, 4 years. The investing piece, working in tons of different areas longer, since 2016, so 8 years.
I was gonna go, are you seeing anything changing in the market? Are you seeing the PE firms, like, well, I've interviewed quite a few, and they're dipping lower in certain industries, like
Sure.
in those service industries, pest control, heat and air, they're buying smaller and smaller. Have you seen any trends that you're noticing with your clients, that was different when you first started?
More and more people are waking up to the fact that buying a business at a 5x is better than buying, and I know you're a commercial real estate guy, so I don't wanna be harmful to you.
I'm a
We own
residential
commercial
real
real
estate
estate.
guy, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah, if you go look at a Walgreens or some, standard whatever type of investment, it's at a 20x multiple, and you can go buy a business making 5x on cash. And so many people are thinking, why am I not doing that?
Yeah.
And what's blown up since, I want to say, this is my guesstimate, 2012 to, let's go, 2022. And then there's been a pullback in this. It's in real estate. People got hooked on bigger pockets. They got hooked on all these media channels. All of these influencers came out. They're like, hey, here's how I'm making so much money on my commercial real estate. Here's how many doors I own. I own all these different doors. I'm making so much money on rent. Airbnb became the thing. Here's all the Airbnbs I have. You can come do the same thing too. I'm making just as cash over cash. But what people are actually super interested now in doing is just looking at the businesses themselves, and it's like plumbing, HVAC at a 3.2x. They come in, or they could be the operator, or even outsource the operator, and that thing runs.
Yeah.
That's so attractive to so many people. So we see such a flood or just wave of people coming in.
It is, and it's been even the last 2 or 3 years that I've been in it, you got a lot of people out there that were the bigger pockets guys. I've seen buying businesses show on their podcast, right? You look at people like, the guys that have, let me think of one of the gurus out there that's really talking about, Pace Morby, right? Pace has been real big in the subject too, real estate, real estate, real estate. You watch some of his last 12 months of his videos, he's, like, talking about buying businesses too, buying businesses, right? And, it's just a different world now. It's good and bad.
I wanna go look. I had no idea Pace was getting into this, but that was my guess too, because 'cause you're seeing so many people that were just influencer space,
Mhm.
and it was the same thing with, like, people that were, crypto, get rich, day trading. They're just jumping from, like, the next hot thing to the hot thing.
Yeah,
But business influencers, your Cody Sanchez's, your Ben Kelly's, your whoever, are just growing massively because they're making a good point. Why would you buy 20x when you can buy this business that does something and make 4.2 on your cash?
yeah. The, it was one of those things, I got into this because when I got out of the real estate business, I hired a performance coach because I thought maybe it was me. I was burned out on the real estate business. The market had shifted on me. We were buying foreclosures, and they were drying up because the market got really hot for a while. And, so I hired a performance coach, actually kind of a friend of mine. I wouldn't say hired. I talked him into helping me. And one of the things he said is, with everything you know and everything you do, why aren't you playing a bigger game? And I tell you, I'd flip a house and we would get
Right.
wired money into our business account, not me personally, but, like, we'd wire money into our business account. It'd be 40, 35, $40,000. And I'd hear his damn voice in my head. But why aren't you playing a bigger game? Right. So I started looking for a bigger game and stumbled across this. And then the numbers just didn't make sense in real estate anymore. I had a few dozen houses at the time, and a lot of my houses, they cash flow 150, $200 a month. And I'd got tied up,
Right.
60, 80, $100,000 in debt against them to buy them, put money into them to fix them up, because this is Tulsa. Houses are cheap. So if you're living where you go, what do you get houses for 60,000? Tulsa. Now their market's doubled. Some of those houses I paid for 60 for are 200 now. But
Sure.
that said, you get appreciation in that. But this industry, you can go out and buy something and get all your money back in 3 years. Like, I buy a house and have somebody move somebody in it, and I can put a 15-year mortgage on it. In 15 years, I get it free and clear. Your average business here, you're buying 2.5, 3x for your company's under 2 million in EBITDA. It's not uncommon to pay two and a
Mm.
half, 3x. That's very, very common. But you get all your money back and your loan's paid off in 2.5, 3 years, technically, right?
Yeah, especially with the right private lender that doesn't require PG or personal guarantee.
It's insane, right? Why isn't it's one of those, why isn't everybody thinking about this, right? So, and then there's part of me going, I don't want everybody thinking about this, because that makes the deal flow a little harder again. So it's a chicken
Sure.
and egg problem. I like that you guys are building this out. I want to take a deeper look in it. I've been playing with it because I'll be honest, I've been
Yeah.
in the space for a couple of years now, and I've only stumbled across it because your guy reached out to me. Now, I don't go out and search
Yeah.
for tools because most of them are extremely overpriced, right? You look at a lot of these tools and they want, especially anything that has a few of the mid-market deals in there, that's 4, 5, $10 million EBITDA, they happen to show up in there. Man, those guys want thousands of dollars a month to be part of what they're doing. I love that you guys are reasonably priced, because the Zoom Info and a lot of these other Crunchbase and these other databases are extremely expensive, $1,000 per month. Um,
Sure.
so really interested in checking out what you guys have.
No, I appreciate that, and that is something we pride ourselves on. Is I don't want to name names, but you mentioned them. Zoom Info, they charge anywhere between $15,000 to $18,000 a year per seat, and that's crazy. And their accuracy level is super low, in our opinion. And that's where we say, hey, it'd be greater than Zoom Info is paying $49 a month for Cairo and having all data, having all deals, access. That seems like a very nice surprise, or just kind of win-win for any of our users. So we're constantly seeking to improve. We're constantly looking to add more and more things. We have lots of pieces built onto the roadmap and features. And so when we tell people like, hey, you're paying $49 a month compared to 18K a year, I think it's okay. Like, we're gonna we're gonna keep adding stuff. Like, bear with us. But you can go access tons of different businesses, millions and millions of different businesses and their data. So it's a good win.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you. I know we're running out of time today. I want to thank you for being here. How do people reach out to you if they want to, first of all, tell them the URL to get to Cairo Data, and then tell them how to reach out to you if they want to work with you on some other level.
Absolutely. So it's www.kairodata.com is the website. You go in, like I said earlier in the podcast, you can
Mhm.
sign up for a free account, check things out, look at deals, data, etc. I know I sent you, we just use Calendly or scheduling link. If anybody has like deeper questions, you want us to actually do calling, outsource, whatever,
Mhm.
we'd be happy to talk. You can use that scheduling link and talk to any of our associates. And then Dan or Daniel himself, great guy to contact. You can do Daniel, Daniel, at kairodata.com, KAIRODATA.com. As that email, reach out and we're happy to chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here today, and hang out for a few seconds afterwards, and we'll call that a show.
Awesome. Really appreciate it, Ronald.
I want to announce our new channel partners, the ITX Marketplace. Since 1998, ITX has created $5 billion in value by selling more than 225 IT businesses in 20 countries. ITX works exclusively with IT-enabled businesses generating between 5 million and 30 million who are ready to be sold, and M&A decision makers who are ready to buy. For over 25 years, ITX has developed industry knowledge that helps determine whether a seller is a good fit for their buyers before making the match. ITX Mergers and Acquisition Marketplace we have partnered with has a proprietary database of 50,000 plus global buyers seeking IT service firms, managed service providers, Microsoft service providers, software as a service platforms, and channel partners with Microsoft, Oracle, ServiceNow, and the Salesforce space. If you have an IT enabled business you're ready to sell, I want you to visit the itexchangenet.com/marketplace. How to exit. That link will be in the show notes. Visit them now.